Welcome. This is Sacred Business Stories. This is our weekly Substack Live where we have honest conversation with entrepreneurs about what it looks to build a business that aligns with their deepest truth. And today we are joined by Filip Sardi. I'll share more about his story here in a second, but I'll just kind of give it a few moments for people to make their way into the room. Hey, Leslie, it's good to see you. Happy you could make
Yes,
it.
welcome
AJ,
everyone.
yeah.
Mhm. Yes, I always like to share this, like the why we do what we do, and like the why we create Secret Business Stories. And I feel that the more we do that, I get more excited because we are meeting like a lot of like cool people, doing cool stuff, and I feel that it's an opportunity to give other people's permission to do cool stuff as well. I almost said a word. I'm like, I'm not gonna say that. To do cool stuff. Hello, Jara. Welcome. And this is a space for inspiration. Like if you have something that it's like, oh, I've been wanting to do that, and I think Philip has a great story to share with you. Like if you don't follow that you know that you should be following what happens. But we're gonna get into that. But let's just wait a couple of minutes. And yes, like if you can post where you're calling from. I'm in Brazil, by the way.
I also set invitation to my list, but it's Friday afternoon here in Croatia, so I don't think a lot of people will say, "Okay, I'm gonna spend my like 6 7 p.m. Friday up to listen to
Oh,
Phil." So
all good. We'll catch the replay for sure. And yeah, this will be a fun, confusing interview because it's the tale of two Phils here. It's yeah, Phil and Philip. I guess I'll go by Phil and we'll call you Philip with an F. But yeah, this will be a good interview. Yeah, Kaylee, do you want to share a little bit more before we jump in on kind of this idea of sacred business? And then I'll
Yes, for
introduce.
sure. Oh yeah, Jara's calling from Ontario. I lived in Montreal many, many years, and I love Ontario too. So yeah, like Sacred Business is, well, it's our business actually, and it is the business that allows you. I feel that it's really born when you understand that everything is connected and your business is not like something separate from your life. And it is actually your ability to bring all of who you are forward, like your certifications, like all your background and your experiences and your victories and your challenges. And then you combine it all and you're like, I have something to share and I know I can help people because you've walked the path, because you have the experience, and then you decide to create this beautiful expression of yourself that gets translated into service that returns as like money and supports the lifestyle that you want to live. So that's what sacred business is. And then the people that we are connecting here are people that we believe and we see that they succeeded and they're like, yes, they do have a sacred business, and they share their stories again to inspire you, and then to create space, to give permission to people like, yeah, I've got something special to share, because this is not like for special people. Like nobody here has anything special. We're just people like sharing what we like to share. So that's basically what it is. So
Yeah.
yes, welcome everyone. And
Yeah,
welcome.
and today, yeah, and I'm excited to introduce Filip Sardi, who, in addition to being a brilliant marketer, I am privileged to call a friend. We've been able to spend time. Well, you're going to have to actually jog my memory. I don't actually remember where we met, but I know we've, had the privilege of spending time together in Costa Rica, Colombia, maybe in the
Colombia.
United States. Yeah, I don't know. Did we meet in Colombia? Is
No,
that?
Colombia was the first time we ever met live. We were connected on Facebook for some time, but
Yes.
that was it. So Colombia was our, let's say, live friendship kickstart.
Yeah, yeah. So it's been a few years, and it's been really fun to watch Philip's journey kind of evolve, and he'll be sharing more about that. But like today, Philip is really showing up in the world as, like I said, a brilliant client success strategist. I can't speak today, apparently. Speaker and mentor, and really helping entrepreneurs build sustainable client-first businesses. So pretty much everything that happens on the back end. So whereas so many people focus on kind of getting the sale, Philip is really a genius at helping people create experiences after the fact that make people become, in my opinion, this is what we call creating customers for life. So,
Yeah.
yeah, Philip, we're really excited to have you, and would love to kind of send it over to you and just have you share a little bit more about yourself and where you find yourself in your story.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Great to be here, and we'll touch more on how we met in Colombia and some custom stories afterwards for sure. But yeah, it was an interesting story. And then when I saw your questions about like how it all came to pass, and I was like, that's the perfect episode where I can finally share for the first time. Like it's not just a
Mm,
wasn't just a business journey; it's basically soul's journey. And in this space, I can allow myself to be like woo woo without restrictions and without whether I mention souls, energies, and stuff like that. So that's the thing. So I'm Filip, originally from Croatia, but the road keeps calling. So I always love to travel. Vinyasa grounds me. That's one of the more important things. And like you've said and teased a bit, I am a digital marketer, I'm a launch strategist, but that was never my passion. And I believe the biggest revelation and thing that I came to accept was the fact that I was always more interested in what happens after people say yes, in deeply caring about my clients and my clients' clients. Maybe sometimes too much, and blurring the boundaries and all that stuff, and learning how it affects me and how it affects my clients. So the idea of client flow movement was born a couple of years ago, but for reasons we'll mention a bit later, it came to pass only a couple of months ago, and now I really like to call it like you said, it's a business movement that helps client first businesses grow really sustainably by focusing on taking excellent care of their existing clients, and that's it.
mm, mhm. Love that. So tell us, share a little bit more about yeah, how you got to this place where you are now, and obviously I've known you prior to this kind of evolution or iteration of your journey, and yeah, just would love to hear more about and how you came into this space that you're working now, and anything you'd like to share there.
Okay, yeah, it was evolution, as I've said, out of like almost a decade of experience of seeing like how much effort, energy, and willpower goes into getting people in, and how much people like focus on just acquiring more and more and more. Being launch strategies for almost a decade, like I love being a digital marketer. I love doing those big launches, and it started like with a couple of hundred of people, and then ended up being like the biggest launch was 70,000 people in one launch. Just imagine like a stadium of people, and I would have to manage strategies, get people through the door, get clients, thousands of clients in. And there was like a big revelation where we ended this launch and there was no celebration. It was like, nice, great job, but Philip, like, what's the next milestone? Okay, what's the next big thing we can reach? What's the next financial milestones? Can we get 100,000 people in? And at that point, I started thinking to myself, maybe this like launch strategist career wasn't for me. And I started questioning the motivation that I had. Was it purely financial or not? What I really wanted to be doing. And as I already said, I always cared about my clients and my clients' clients. So I realized that not a lot of people are paying attention to basically what happens after clients come into their world. And I've seen great examples, like when people take great care of their clients. You have like 20 different coaches taking care of hundreds of clients. But I also seen the other side where businesses almost fell apart because the system wasn't set. And honestly, the big revelation came after 2020, where we had the best year ever, the post-COVID year, which like the online world blew up, and we had 10 client launches, my company did, and I burned out totally. And I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I'm turning into an agency model I really don't like, and it's taking my soul. And then what happened is I've seen that there is this other way of helping people with retention and client success and all that stuff. But when I started talking to my clients and when I started reaching out to people about this, being passionate about it and wanting to share my passion, they shut me down. They're like, "Nah, Philip, it's nice, but let's focus on the next launch. Come on, we need to get leads, we need to get sales." And I got discouraged. And I honestly, I got scared, and in a way, I put my soul's mission on a shelf and just said to myself, okay, well, nobody wants this. It's too risky to do that part of the business. So let's maybe just stick with launches and digital marketing. And that was, I don't want to say biggest mistake, because everything happens for a reason. But from that moment on, from 2021, even though I launched a couple of interesting projects, I wasn't fulfilled. I really wasn't fulfilled. And then it took its toll basically in 2024 for physically, where my body said no and universe said no. And it was like, okay, this is not where you're supposed to go. And I had this like urgent gallbladder surgery where I almost died, but this is not a sad story. It's just like the lesson, what happens when you are not listening to yourself, to your intuition, and to like what your soul really needs. So I don't know if you want me to go deeper into any of of these sections, but it was, wow, it was really like eye-opening thing that happened in 2024.
Yeah, I could have like 10,000 questions for you because there are like so many things. They're so powerful in what you just shared here. And what I would love for you maybe to connect with this, like the feeling was there. And then you notice that like, oh, this is what excites me. And then people said like, no, like that's not what we want, but that's what you wanted. And I feel that a lot of people, they shut their dream down in this first no.
Yeah.
And then the kind of what you said, right? Like, hey, like, and that's me now. Let me put this aside because everybody's saying no, 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 no. And even if you're more into the woo world and you're like connected, you're like, oh, it's the universe telling me no. But in my opinion, it's very, very different. It's kind of like, do you really want this? And then you need to cross that line of like, it takes courage to stand up and like, yes, because I'm feeling here. And the first place that you know a sign is just inside of you. There's nothing outside that shows you that you should, nobody like, hey, Philip, can you help us in our client journey, for example? Like, it's not often, like sometimes happens, but it's not often what it does. And I would just like, if you could just like, after the surgery, I guess, like what was the moment of like courage that you're like, hey, I need to do that? Like, and then, more or less, how did you start your journey like
Okay.
towards this? And
Perfect. Perfect. I'll backtrace just a bit, because
yes.
something to do with me meeting Phil in Costa Rica, because it was like slight awaken, being awakened moment, but not enough, because in that soul searching part of 2022, it was basically, okay, nobody wants my ideas about client journey. I'm so sad, I'm not gonna do this, because by that moment I was like launch strategy superstar. Everybody wants a piece of me in a way. And then it was like, no, they're rejecting me. And I turned to the easier way, in a way, because I said, okay, I'm gonna launch regional project here in Croatia, because it seems like, oh, I have the knowledge, I have the skills, it's gonna be super easy for me to do some business. And while we launched successfully and we gained traction, and I still work with amazing Croatian clients, it really never was the thing. And the first time I was kind of woken up was when Phil, we met in Colombia, started talking
Mhm.
about in 2023. And then a couple of months afterwards, when we did our retreat, which was amazing, by the way, and I'm gonna let you share something about it if you want, uh, where you actually helped me start putting real like touches and real outlines to what this soul's mission and purpose could be.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I
That's
just
awesome.
remember, I remember very, um, yeah, pretty clearly coming into that and kind of the space you're in and like just kind of some of the, yeah, the frustration of like, kind of like,
Yeah,
hey, like this balance between what you were doing in Croatia and then like, you know, in many ways we have a lot in common because for so long we're both kind of like these behind the scene wizards guys and like
exactly.
many people don't recognize you, but I know like you said earlier, you've been behind launches with 70,000, like headed towards 100,000. So you have this experience on one hand, and you've got what's going on in Croatia, but like just the conflict that that can create when you and this is where I feel like a lot of people get stuck. Like it's almost like when you become a victim of your own success because like you have these skills, you can keep doing things the old way. Like this is very similar to the experience I had prior to starting Secret Business Flow with Carolina as well. But then you feel this tension inside yourself that like, yeah, there's something beyond this. And yeah, it was a real joy. It was a pleasure to support you and like help you kind of like unpack all of kind of the strategy behind the scenes. Yeah, that was probably some of the earliest iterations or kind of planning that you were doing around your current work. Is that true? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Mm.
true because I had the framework for years, since 2020, because we already did the work about it without even telling the clients I was helping them. So, but when we started talking about it for the first time, it was like, okay, what is the brand? What's the mission behind it? And then actually I got inspired by your talks and Carolina, your talk, because you started talking about flow, sacred business flow. For me, like flow and waves and everything always resonated deeply when like I just need to be close to the sea, ocean, or water. I'm at peace. I don't even have to get in. So it was only kind of always kind of leading towards that direction. But that's the first time I started opening up because it felt like I'm in a safe space with you guys where we get to talk about all these like different dimensions and different motivations behind it, not just the ego driven, okay, I'm gonna launch this different, there's like this huge movement and conquer the world, because it's not about that. It's about attracting the right people who resonate on this frequency.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, and I love like what you share about like, oh, and then like the first person that actually like gave me a feedback or kind of like helped me to create a structure was like Phil, because sometimes that all it takes like one person to tell you, because we don't fully trust ourselves, and then we are not able to just like, hey, let me just go and I'm gonna follow through that. Like, of course there are people that can do that, but it's not very easy. And then it takes one person that like, hey, you have something and it is special, that just affirms from the outside out, from the outside in, that what you are feeling here is true, and it's just not you like trying to be like reinventing the wheel. It's just like, hey, if it's here and you have this to share, like you should go ahead, but you need a structure. It's not just like do whatever and it's gonna work, and then your ability to follow through. And like, and I don't know, maybe you can share like how are you right now, like with your sacred business and coming from that space, like your health, and how are you feeling like.
Oh, I'm great. I'm great. I've never been like, I don't want to say never, never say never, but I haven't felt so good and grounded and really feeling like aligned with myself in years. And like you said, it's so important to first be surrounded by your people, like being in a bubble. But there was this kind of a danger in terms of, okay, we were in a bubble, Costa Rica, amazing, yes, motivated and all that. But once I went back to Croatia, it quickly depleted. So that's why community like yours, Sacred
Mhm.
Business Network, and just being there and being able to interact on a monthly, weekly basis and staying surrounded by such people is such an important mission that you guys are doing. And then now I'm seeing fully, because when Phil first told me about, oh, I'm gonna be doing Substack stuff and starting different things, I'm like, okay, I'll join. I didn't join until like a month ago, and now you guys have like 7,000 subscribers and just growing fast in community of like-minded people, which is really inspiring. That's why I'm trying to like, share, and comment on everything you do because it motivates us. Yeah,
Thank you, man. Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like we had a conversation last night, Phil and I, and it was about like he was talking about someone else that is actually facing a lot of like health challenges, and it's exactly the same thing. And then this person was actually, well, I don't know him. It's like Phil's friends, but he was more like, and maybe you can talk about that, Phil. It's just like people sometimes do not recognize that your body's talking to you all the time, and if you have this thing here that you're like, oh, I want to do that, and that open, like, and I often say, I'm like, hey, it's just easy. Like, do you feel your heart moving forward? Your chest expanding, and that the feeling of being alive, like that's your calling. And if you are excited to create something, and then this person is like, I don't know, Phil said like he has many conditions right now, and he's like, oh, I need to exercise more, and I need to eat better, and this is true. Like, I'm not saying that it's not, but there's something else that we don't realize, that it's like your soul talks to your body, and then your body talks to your mind, and we need to like let the mind like listen to it.
I mean,
Mhm.
I can give you a specific example. Really, I was on a high after the retreat. It was like 2023 was almost done. We did one more like amazing event with Ron Reich, and he was also in your community as well. And I was flying high at the same time. My soul was like, "Oh, we are finally gonna follow the path." But then by the end of the year, I closed down again. And what happened 2 months after? That like urgent surgery, it was my body, whatever, universe, soul saying no. Okay, we are not gonna allow this to continue anymore. And I thought to myself, okay, wow, I got a second chance. I was really like hours from dying from sepsis and all that stuff, which is funny now. At the at the time being, it wasn't so funny. But the thing was, when you get the second chance, you gotta use it. I didn't. Like,
Mm.
I took it for granted again for months. And then it took some real deep work, brutal honesty towards self, and just being, dude, you almost you almost didn't make it. It's been 5 months. You feel lousy, but you are telling to yourself, no, 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 I'm fine, it was nothing, it was nothing. And then during the August of last year, I finally discovered Presence Process by Michael Brown, which really helped me as a process of 10 weeks, diving deep like into my like inner child and really letting out everything that I was suppressing for years. And that was the first step to finally me seeing, okay, I'm really on the wrong path here. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I shouldn't do anything in Croatia with Croatian businesses, but my soul wants what's on the shelf that I put on the shelf in 2021. And I finally kind of took like enough courage and said, okay, let's open up that book again. And when I started getting into it, the momentum started building and flowing. And now, like, I haven't felt so good in ages.
No,
Mm.
that's awesome. I'm gonna celebrate you. We have this. Well, we saw the
Oh,
podcast.
yeah.
I'm celebrating you like big time.
You know what? I started doing this on my own because of your monthly call. I caught myself yesterday actually. Someone was my client was celebrating, and I was like automatically going like this and like, oh fuck. Yeah, so yeah.
Do that,
Now
please. Like you have, we should. We have someone else, and she's like, "Hey, I'm doing this with my clients right now." I'm like, "Why not? Let's celebrate each other." And that's, like, and allow your body to remember, that, like, yes, I'm celebrating life fully because, I'm following my purpose, my path, because I'm excited about what I'm doing. So celebrate with your body, like, fully.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. So I would love to kind of, I think it's the perfect opportunity. So you kind of you did this work, you realize that you're kind of squandering in a sense your second chance, and then you finally got to this point of courage. And that's, in our language, we kind of call this taking the love-led leap. That's the word we use for this moment where it's kind of like it's kind of the point of no return where it's like it's funny, we were talking to someone who's coming on to our show next month, and I love the way she said it. She's like, you know I remember exactly what she said, but she's like, well, there's no plan B. It's kind of this vibe. And so I would love to hear from you as you found this courage, and now as you're kind of moving into present time. Like, one of the things we often talk about with our audience is like, as you like move into this like meaningful work and your purpose, like it's very, very normal for like fear and resistance to come up. It's like these things don't go away when you take the leap. It's not like, okay, I'm here, I've decided to do this, and now there's no fear or resistance. So I'd love to ask you, like, today, like in present times, like where do you find that the fear and the resistance comes up for you? And can you offer anything that might be useful for anyone listening around how you work with that so you can kind of keep moving forward with your vision?
of course. I mean, there are still old patterns. I
Mhm.
get like who's gonna listen to you? Come on, customer success. Who wants this stuff? And then no, 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 not anymore, my friend. I still feel the fear, but I know that no one's gonna do it instead of me. So I did something that I didn't do before. Like you said, Phil, we're always on, in the shadows. And I committed and I said, okay, I'm committing by booking 15 guest podcast spots to start with the goal of having 50 guest podcasts by the end of the year, which is huge step out of the comfort zone. And just even thinking about it, I'm like, but then at the same time, the question always is every day is like, okay, am I following my soul's path? Is this really what I'm meant to do? Is this the energy that I want to be feeling throughout the day, throughout the journey that I'm on? And if the answer is yes, and it is, because there is no, like you said, there is no point of return anymore. We are on the path now and we are following it. But I'm managing by doing morning and evening meditation. um, I finished the presence process, which was like deep integration. I moved to, I like Joe Dispenza shorter meditations, like the morning entry and the evening one, because it kind of grounds the future in a way. And if you can clearly see the vision and where you're going, and not just like the outcomes and goals and subscribers, more like it's a feeling. How do I feel? How do I feel by working with people, by talking to you guys, by meeting
Mhm.
you again in one of the retreats around the world, by sharing to your community, by you guys coming to sharing to my community? I feel amazing. And this is what I ground every day. And whenever I need it, I just remember the feeling. It's basically an anchor. And out of this anchor, I overcome the fear. I mean, when we were talking about me joining you for this chat, there was always an option in my mind, like, no, 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 it's too late. You have some other plans, blah blah blah, all the other stuff. It's like, no, no, you committed to this. You were asking for signs. This is the way to do it. So yeah, these are one of the ways. And I'm not isolating myself. I think it's really important for people to know that they have a safe space, and when they feel something that's blocking them, they should be able to share it. Because if they keep it inside, it's gonna become this like huge burden on their shoulders, and it's gonna become like the feeling like I'm the only one carrying this. No one else is feeling this, but we all are. I mean, you as well have daily like struggles. You question
Mhm.
yourself on a daily basis, but you still do this show not once but like 3 times a week, and you show up. You do live streams and all that stuff because you have a bigger mission. You're aligned,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, I think what you just said is so powerful, and I would love people to fully understand that connecting to the feeling is the key. Like, and I don't know, like, there's no other, like, and I like, well, I talk about that all the time, and you said in a very, very, very clear way. But then sometimes the mind gets into place, and then it's stronger. Like the fear in the mind is stronger than the feeling. Well, it's not true, but like it becomes stronger, and then people like, oh, let me surrender to my mind, and like I'm not supposed to be doing that because I have 10,000 thoughts that prove that I should not be doing it. But the feeling never goes away. And if like people could just follow the feeling. Is it giving you the feeling? Yes. So then go. It's not giving you the feeling. So like don't do any. It's not easy. I know. And that, we walk this path together. But I feel that what you just said is probably like one of the most powerful things that one can do to connect and live like an awesome life, honestly,
Yeah,
with all the challenges and all of that. But that's their inner guidance. So yeah, like thanks for sharing that because for in my opinion, it's probably the most powerful thing that one can do to follow, their soul purpose.
perfect, perfect.
And you
Mhm.
said in such a clear way that I hope, more people get the message.
Yeah, and if there are like any listeners or people who are watching the replay and maybe are like, getting the self value from their work, it's important to understand. I was getting my personal value for years through my work, through the results, in terms of, oh, we did those launches, the numbers and everything. I was like, oh, if we do good launch, I value, I'm worthy. If no, I have zero worth. And then once I was able to let this go and started showing up in a way like we do now, we are just sharing what we have to share. I publish posts that I really want the world to read and see, that I really feel are important regardless of the numbers and what's going to happen. Of course we love metrics, we're marketers, Phil, and that's nice, and we love AI tools and all that stuff, but the core has to come from the soul. And that's why I just wanted to share like my favorite quote. I was thinking like, what's my favorite quote? And it's, do your work, do it well, then let go and let God. That's it.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah,
love my work. I do it to the best of my abilities, but then I let go and see what's gonna happen. We leave some room for the magic, and that's it. So if you're
yeah,
afraid, do it anyway. Do it the best to your abilities, and then just have some fun and see what the universe is gonna return back to you.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, this element of playfulness and fun, I feel, is so important, and it's one of the easiest things to lose sight of, I feel, as you're kind of going through this process of entrepreneurship, where, one of the first things you have to get comfortable with is not being comfortable, like the uncertainty, right? And so in the uncertainty, it can be hard to connect with this joyfulness, this playfulness and fun. But if you exercise that muscle and you practice and become skillful at that, I feel that's when everything starts to change. And it's also the gateway towards um, what you describe, which is just kind of showing up and sharing and not, being so heavy on yourself in terms of how you're relating to results or anything like that. So yeah, I really resonate with everything you shared there. Um, yeah, the next thing I wanted to ask you about, which I'll be curious to hear your thoughts. I know I know how we connected, but I would, one of the things that many of our people in our audience and our communities face challenge with is like, especially in this online world, like how do you create meaningful connection, right? How do you share your message? Like, how do you do this in an authentic way that doesn't feel slimy, salesy, like, but it feels honest and genuine, but also like it is connected to this real genuine desire to like share your gifts, right? Like, and so I would love to hear how you approach connection and yeah, any tips or advice you might have for someone who feels the same, like they have something meaningful and worthwhile to share, but they're not quite sure how to offer that more consistently and make those connections.
Okay, for me, the favorite format is writing. So I always loved writing, and there is such a clear distinction where I wanted to like connect and basically share what I have to share. When I think like a marketer, then it's like all the formula. Oh, this is where the hook goes. This is where like the intro goes, and all that stuff. But it never really connects on the deeper level. So I just decided to let that all go and just share, okay, what is the message I want to share? Who is that one person that if follows me and says, hey, this really made my day, or replies to my newsletter? This is like the best replies I'm getting is like, Philip, this resonated deeply. It's not even the buys from my like emails, because I always pitch. I always, I mean, sales is just a conversation, right? But when people say this resonated deeply, I'm gonna think about it and maybe changes for me. Perfect. But you have to know if you have something to share, and if maybe you don't have the platform to share, go on other platforms like Sacred Business Network. It's not like I'm pitching your your community now, but at the same time, if you resonate with the message, if you resonate what we are saying at, start by posting over there, because there are people who are open to it and who will receive it gladly. And this is gonna be like, if you like you said, Phil, if you train the muscle, then at one point it's gonna be like, I don't care if I share it here, on Facebook,
Mm.
on Substack. I know I have to share this, but it has to
Mhm.
be done consistently. Because if you share it once and then try to share like something again in a month, it's not gonna happen. Because
Yeah.
yeah, like all the fears, all the doubts, everything's gonna stack up again, and then to gain the momentum again is gonna be like a lot of work and a lot of energy. That's why when I'm
Mhm.
reading all the posts on Substack now, like how to get along, how to get the momentum, how to get the traction, like there is no secret. Everybody is writing the same thing. Okay, write what you want to write about, but write it consistently, and just share the message with that one person. If they hear it,
Mhm.
right, bad, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, and thank you. Like, and we're not here to the intention of this call is not to pitch the network, but I'm going to take the opportunity because of how you kind of teed that up for me there. Like, that really is our like what you said there around kind of creating the space. Like, that's really our intention for the network is like these are all people who will embrace and support and feel very soul aligned in terms of like mission and like if and it's a beautiful place to kind of flex that muscle and practice, right? And so it's like you go there and you kind of open up to sharing. You do things like you lead a member-led workshop, or you start to participate in our collective, which is a wonderful writing opportunity. And you start to normalize that. And as you normalize that, then it's like, wow, like this is not a thing, right? It's like, okay, what does it look like for me just to go jump on a Substack live for everybody or go book something in someone else's community? And so that's really a big part of what we're inspired to create with the network is that connection engine where people can experience like in a safe space and like a dose that's appropriate for like meeting them where they're at and just yeah just feel like oh I can do this and kind of go out there. So yeah, I just wanted to say that because that's totally our mission, so I really appreciate you kind
I
of
mean,
bringing attention to that.
one of the first, like, there are a couple of moments in life where you get that big leap. You know, you're doing, and then all of a sudden one thing makes you accelerate really fast. One of the first big leaps in my online career was basically when I found one Facebook community in 2016, which was also a type of a mastermind, because I was searching for my place, for my people, and it was hard for me to find somewhere where I belong. And it seems like trivial. Oh, this is paid Facebook group. Join, and your life's gonna change. But when I really joined this like behind the scenes group, and when I saw that there are similar people like me with similar values, willing to share, willing to connect, and willing to just chat, it really gave me confidence to start really stepping to the next level where I want to be personally and business wise. And that's why I'm kind of leaning so much towards inviting people to join the community, in our case Sacred Network community, because it's
Mm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is huge. It makes such a big difference. And I love what you said about the sense of belonging. It's so
yeah,
hard when you don't have that. It's so hard when you like, when you make a transition and then you look around and nobody speaks your language anymore and nobody sees what you see, and then you like, the sense of like, am I being wrong here? Am I in the right place? Am I, and then all the self-doubt could just come because you are not with your tribe. And then all of a sudden, if you find that, then you give yourself permission to like, yes, there's more people like this sense of belonging is so so important. So yeah, I think it's number one.
Yeah.
It's hard to
And
grow.
and then my other experience with that is like you kind of, and it's funny, we were having this conversation with someone today around our community, like, and it's the same. It's kind of it's the same on Substack in general. It's like you kind of get what you give, right? Like we were talking about, like the opportunity to come and do these member led workshops. And I was like, yeah, it's one thing if you show up and you're supporting others and you're coming to the social mixers and you have a presence and then you put your offer out there. People are genuinely going to want to show up and support you. But if you just kind of join, you lurk around, you don't really like, and this is kind of what you said, like a group can change your life. It can, and it's like is this the right place for you, and are you bringing yourself fully to it? Because if you show up and support others, then they're going to show up and support you, and the whole thing changes. And so for me, this is really it. Like, and this is a big part of what we want to cultivate too, is like I'm not at any level in our communities, whether it's our Sacred Business Network or the Growth Club, which is our more of our coaching community. Like, and it's funny, we should have a conversation about this because you are the client flow guy. Like, I have no interest, I have zero interest in people, and I literally tell this to people on calls, like coming and like you swiping your credit card and then we just like don't see you again, and you forget. Like, in fact, I've told people if you do that, I'm probably going to like intentionally remove you myself from the community because
Well,
like I
we
just
we did
yeah
fire people.
yeah
and I'm
yeah
glad, you did, because this is what's gonna make difference from now going on with this like crazy AI fast evolution era, where everything becomes depersonalized. We have too much information going on, and then like what's left? Real connection, real engagement, authentic experiences. And if you don't nurture that, you're just gonna be one of the communities where people were burned because they didn't get anything.
mhm,
And
Mhm.
that's not the core or what we do or
yeah
what you
yeah yeah. And I don't know, like, and I'd love to, this wasn't on the script, but just like I'd love to get your quick take on this, and maybe this would be helpful for anyone to understand your work. Like, I understand what you do, and I totally resonate. Like this idea, I almost think it's crazy. Like this idea that you should like constantly be in the sales cycle and like bringing new people in. It's like to me that's far it's far harder than just like really taking care of the people that you have. And maybe this has to do with alignment of like, are you actually in it for the right reasons? But if you're in it for the right reasons, the joyful aspect from my experience is mostly in the taking care of people after the sale anyway. And so yeah, I'm always a little bit kind of, when you talk, and I know it's true because I've been in marketing long enough and I know where people put the emphasis. But it always kind of stuns me, like how little attention people give to that aspect of their business. So, yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to share around
it's
what you've seen in that. Yeah.
it's not just the focus on it, it's the energy. Because
Mm,
conversations with Philip, I'm the expert. I really care about my clients, but you gotta realize, and then comes the reasoning. You gotta realize, I spend 95% of my energy on launches, on getting people in, and I have only 5% energy left for what happens after. And then I count on the fact that my expertise and that I know what I'm doing is gonna help them get results. And that's just not the way to go, because simply, even if you can do so, you can do it to a certain level because your energy and time is limited. And then you want to scale your business, you can help your clients, but at the same time, there is nowhere more to scale because you can help maybe 10 people and you'd be able to help 30 if you just have a simple system in place. And this is what I'm trying to tell people. It doesn't require like a rocket science. It's just like simply knowing how to engage, how to educate, how to onboard them, and in the end, how to offboard them. It's so
Mhm.
important. Like, okay, when the cooperation, business program, whatever is done, let them leave on a good note, and let them know if they want to stay, there is a way for them to stay, not to upsell them, to sell them, because a lot of people need just more time. And if you don't tell them that part, they're not going to know. And we'd rather just like
Mhm.
shy away in terms of getting maybe bad feedback and not ask our clients how it is that we are doing, what can we do better, and disregarding and just saying, I'm doing my best. The industry average is 5%, and I'm like somewhere around that. I'm even better. I'm at 7% of client success rate, and that's it. Well, that's some like an excuse that I'm not willing to take anymore, because caring about your clients and taking care of them are two totally different things.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and so, like, I know here on Substack, there's a lot of people that are kind of, or what I've noticed is there's a lot of people starting to kind of experience with different models of how they monetize kind of beyond the writing. And I see a lot of people that are kind of doing things like launches that you mentioned for the first time in many cases. And so from all your experience, and it's this is kind of this idea of like everything is connected, right? It's very cool because you have so much experience doing launches at the highest level, like you said, like reaching 70 to 100,000 people, and now you flipped over to the other side of the equation, which is like how do we fully support the people who are a yes. So if someone is like kind of stepping into this world of launching or other aspects of how they might be acquiring customers, like what's like one simple thing that you would say, like, hey, just pause, put this one thing in place before you do that launch, like something that maybe wouldn't like take them days or weeks to implement. Like what would be something like just very cool that anybody could like consider?
The first thing where people get lost and lose the most energy is what I call commitment principles. So basically, just when someone gets into your world, they have to know clearly, and I know you guys are doing this, like, okay, what am I giving to you? What is expected of you? What is expected of me? So setting the boundaries and knowing exactly how I'm gonna support you. And by doing so, some people are not gonna like it because some people are like energy vampires, but most will respect it. And then you will have enough energy to support everybody. And the second thing is limit the amount of people that can get into your world. I know it's tempting to let everybody in terms of, oh, I'm having this great launch. I'm going to get like 200 new members in. They're going to be paid like Substack members. But can you take 200 members and support them? You're a one man band. You create content daily. You support your family. You have to now support your clients. I mean, you'll get there. Take it one milestone at a time. Take 10 people in.
Mhm,
How you're feeling. Can you support them? If yes, next launch increases to 20, then 30, then 40, and you'll see where the system kind of starts breaking, and you'll see where you need to support them a bit more. But I mean, if you're in it for the long term, it doesn't really matter if the first one or the fourth launch is gonna be that big one, because it's only like 3 to 6 months apart. So that would be
mhm.
not one but three or four biggest things that
Yeah, that yeah, that
face.
last one is so wise. Like, and one of Carolina's favorite sayings is this: "No hurry, no pause," and we say that all the time to our
Oh,
clients. But we ran into this exact situation, and I'm glad we had the wisdom to do exactly what you described. Like, well, almost a year ago, as you know, I worked with Leo from Zen Habits for many years, and we were fortunate enough that he was willing to support us, like as we were bringing our Sacred Growth Club online. And at the moment in which he was a yes to doing basically a whole launch for us, which was incredible because he just doesn't do that for people. Like I can count on like one hand how many times he's like sent he has he's very mindful of like promotional things that he sends to his list. And so we were all fired up to do that. And but it just turned out that we were going through a very transitional time. Like this is when I was in the process of moving from Costa Rica to Brazil. And so we had all this energy and juice, and we're like, can you believe this? Like we're gonna send our this offer like right out the gate to over 100,000 people. And then we're like, wait a second, but like, are we ready for that? Like, have we actually put like we had the group up? We were like, do we actually have the systems to ensure that people have a good experience? And the answer was no at the time. And so we had to just graciously be like, hey, like we want to do this. Please, like, can you wait for us to catch up with ourselves a few months? And we did that. So we wait. It ended up being about 8 months later, and thankfully he was still willing to support in the same way. But I totally recognize now that if we had plowed ahead, it could have been. I won't say it would have been, but it could have been a pretty big disaster. So there's a lot of wisdom and kind of understanding your pace, and yeah, this whole no hurry,
And it's
no pause thing.
a
Yeah.
disaster to the clients and a disaster for us because the amount of stress, like this whole thing about burnout and like we cannot serve them. And then we are trying to catch up with something that we don't have the system in place. And then you like, it's the opposite of a sacred business.
Oh,
That's what it is.
and if you lose
Yeah.
the client because of the bad service, it takes so much more, not even to get them
To
back
get
in,
it back.
sharing bad words about you, and you don't need that. So if you need, delay it a bit, limit the intake of people that you can have, and just take your time. I mean, there is a reason why we both have the word flow as the name of the movement and the business, because if it's not flowing, there is some block that needs to be addressed, and that's it.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah, and then
mhm,
you probably like you lose the passion that you had for your business because it's actually like destructive, right? Like it's destroying you and it's not supporting your lifestyle and it's not supporting like your health and anything. So, but in the name of numbers and metrics and money, like is it really worth it? Like I can say like it's not. So
mhm, mhm. Yeah.
I can. Many businesses have almost failed because of that mistake. People have went back from like group models to one-on-one models because they got scared after such experience. And when you got like when you're contracting, you're not sharing again your amazingness and greatness with the world, and your soul is hurting. And we don't want that. And if you can take any lessons, just like the last couple of like from 10 minutes, I think it could like save a lot of new businesses that are getting into launching, especially on Substack, because a fairly new model. And just take it slow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool. We're a little over time, but I'd really appreciate you being generous here. Do you have a couple more minutes? Just want to like ask you, yeah,
Yeah,
like
no.
for anyone that, and if anyone on the chat that's watching live has any questions for Philip, feel free to jump in, and I'm sure he'd be happy to answer. But in the meantime, I would love to ask, yeah, just like, and yeah, obviously you're here on Substack, so this makes it really easy. But if someone wants to explore your world a little bit more deeply, understand how you could potentially support them, like what would you suggest? What would be a couple of things they might want to check out?
Well, thanks to you, I'm all Substack, so that's fairly easy. Just clientflowsubstack.com. You have the connection, because I was in a way following and modeling your model, and I love how you put together manifesto. So we have
Mm,
like 5-part manifest where they can go through and really see if they deeply resonate with the mission, the movement, and how it's built. And if it works for them, subscribe. You can get like the free lead magnet PDF. But if you really want to kind of dive deeper outside of Substack, then just go to joinclientflow.com, and you'll get the more detailed stuff on the website. And those two channels at the moment are the biggest all in, and where I'm going to share most of the things and information and posts in the next, at least by the end of this year.
cool. Yeah, I was just gonna close by asking like what's next for you? Like what's the big thing that you're getting your focus between now and the end of the year?
Okay, so the big thing is actually simplicity, and not like launching 10 different offers. I only have mentorship offer, and it's like sharing and spreading the word. So I, like I said at the beginning, at least 50 guest spots somewhere around the world. So you help me. I have one less based on today. So yes, so
Yeah.
getting back on the road. The road has been calling, and
Yeah.
I'm returning the call. And starting June, I'm gonna be full time on the road. And I think we're meeting in Colombia.
Cartagena. I think we'll be seeing each other again in July, I believe it is. Yeah. So that's going to be
July,
a fun event. Yeah.
I don't know where it takes me by, but by the end of the year, I'm gonna be traveling and hosting like remote workshops and stuff and spreading the word, but at the same time enjoying the world. So that's the big
Beautiful.
thing. 1.5 years of being put in Croatia. So, yeah,
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, you're always welcome to find your way down to Brazil and adventure a little bit with us. And it's definitely on our list to get over to Croatia as well. I'm
oh,
always yeah, getting jealous when you send me some of the pictures you shared with me in the past. So keep doing that. It'll work at some point. We'll make it happen. Yeah.
September, wink, winks, end of September, maybe. So that's
Ooh,
the
Mm,
standing informal invitation.
I
very
like
cool.
that.
Yeah. We'll follow up on that one. Cool. Well, awesome, man. Thank you so much for being with us. And actually, thank you for kind of doing it on short notice. I really appreciate that. And was really grateful to have you here and to share your story and just to have you in our community. So, yeah, just, yeah, thank you again so much. And we'll be seeing you soon for sure.
Yes,
Yes, it was very nice to
sure.
connect.
I'm glad.
Cool. Yeah. And thank you for everyone that was able to join us live. And if you're watching this on the recap, oh, that's the last thing I'll say. Probably within 30 minutes to an hour from here, I'll share out the recap of this and it'll have all the links and everything so people can find how they could work with you and learn more about you. And you're welcome to share that. It'd be great if you could share that with your people as well. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, we'll talk soon, my friend.
Talk soon.
All
Bye,
right.
guys.
Cool.
Ciao.
Bye. Thank you.